Welcome to Fempreneur True Confessions. And now I'm realizing not only did I prematurely hit go live, I forgot to take Lynda out of the screen, our guest. So she gets to sit through the entire introduction, which we try not to do because, they just sit there smiling.
You can take me
So
out. Take me out, man. Take me out.
she's like, take me out. Okay, fine. I'll take you out. Watch
Take
me
you
take
out.
you out. I'm going to take you out.
This is why we love live. Oh, good
We're
God.
already having so much fun. Hi, welcome to Fempreneur True Confessions podcast.
Hello, everyone. And I'm Laura, and I am the owner of ODAA, or Oda Virtual Assistant Agency. And we are a small boutique virtual assistant agency that has an amazing team that is here to help you behind the scenes as a small business owner. Learning to delegate out work, figure out a good strategy, what is most efficient for you, and just giving up what you need to give away and get done so that you can focus on your business, the stuff that really is your superpower in your business. So delegate it, get rid of it, let it be done by somebody else. So that is what we're here for. Nice to meet everyone.
Awesome. And I'm Angelique with Lady Powerhouse Solutions. Lady Powerhouse Solutions is Laura and I do a lot of the same things, not all the same things, but a lot. And we take a heart-centered approach to offering project and event management to women entrepreneurs who are on fire, lighting the world up with their passion and drive. We help them achieve their missions in the most authentic way possible. And this is starting to become like everything's authentic. One of our guests mentioned that recently, like everything's authentic. But so I just want to say what we mean by that is we work with the client to get their message across when we do marketing, for instance, or when we do some kind of project internally with their clients or with their team members that feels really yummy to them. How about that? How about that?
Yeah, I think yummy works.
I
Absolutely.
think yummy works. Yeah.
So together, we are Fempreneur True Confessions podcast. And our mission here is and has been to empower women in their business, in their life, in their world in general, to live authentically, so to live real, and support each other instead of competing. We're non-competitive. We prove that as we come in, and we want to authentically show that in its true form, that we don't need to compete, that we are here to support women in business, and to not compete with each other. So we model this through our own business, our own personal relationships, empowering each other and other women to do the same.
Yep. And so part of that is creating a community. And that's what that's what we're trying to do with the podcast is hopefully reaching an audience that is also wanting the same things, right? And creating a community, nurturing that community, building it up, this community of women that want to normalize the struggles, share the lessons that we've learned with the common goal of lifting other women up and never tearing them down. I saw this in action recently where these women who had been supported by this particular coach. That's what I'm going to call her for lack of a better word. It's not really what she is, but she stopped doing something for free and they attacked her. And it broke my heart. It broke my heart because her community is about this. Her community is about normalizing what it looks like when women succeed at supporting each other and building each other up and fostering and supporting them and encouraging them to use their gifts and passions to fulfill their life's calling. So, it was a lesson learned, unfortunately, through her, but the best we can do is continue to support her and build her up and be there for her And that's what we're wanting to do, is build, maintain, and grow this sisterhood that believes in an abundance mindset, meaning there's more than enough for everybody. And sharing our struggles, helping each other rise to our highest potential. And I want to add something now. I want to add that we honor each other's value, because that's what this was. It was dishonoring her value, her worth. And it really, really pissed me off. I'll be honest. It really pissed me off. And I'm sure, well, it hurt her. It hurt her.
Yeah.
And you could tell. But that's what our community is about. And I think we're going to start adding that too, that we honor each other's value. So, prime example is our guest today. I'm so excited.
I am too. So we have Lynda with us, and Lynda is...
No, wait. You got to say her whole name because it's so cool.
I have to say her whole name.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't put it on there. It's
You
Lynda.
didn't put it on here. Lynda. We're going to bring you up. Lynda Sunshine West is...
Yes.
I apologize. I didn't put it on, or we didn't have it on the sheet. But Lynda Sunshine West is the founder and CEO of Action Takers Publishing. She's a speaker, a 22-time #1 international bestseller, executive film producer, red carpet interviewer, and philanthropist. Woo, you're my kind of woman. She ran away at 5 years old and was gone an entire week. She came home riddled with fears and in turn became a people pleaser. At age 51, she decided to face one fear every day for an entire year. In doing so, she gained an exorbitant amount of confidence and now uses what she's learned to fulfill her mission of empowering 5 million women and men to write their stories.
Wow. Welcome, Lynda.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. I love it when I hear my bio, because it's not what I was before you for so many years. And it just goes to show that we can accomplish a lot in life if we just put our mind to it and keep moving forward.
Absolutely. Lynda was in the comments, and we have a private chat. And so when I said yummy, she's like, yummylicious. And her and I have already, I met Lynda. We can't remember how we met, but I went into one of her Women Action Takers networking events when she used to do those a while back. And that's how we initially connected. Since then, I've bought a couple of her books. This is one of them. We'll drop links she's got 4. I'll forward them in the notes in the comments, or, the what's that called? Show notes. I know what they are. I just couldn't pull it up at that right that second. They're okay. All right. Give us 1 second. I think what we have to do is
it mine?
Lynda, you may need to do it on your end. In your settings, there's an option to please hold while we work on there's echo cancellation and noise suppression. Make sure those are on in this settings under audio.
They are. Okay.
All right. I have headphones on. Headphones always help.
Yeah, I have headphones on too.
So Laura, it's your fault. Anyway, because she doesn't have headphones on.
Well, I don't hear it. So do you want me to put my headphones on? Will that help?
Yeah, probably would.
Okay.
So where was I? We were trying to figure out where we met, and it doesn't matter. The thing is, we connected, and we talked about how we both like to break out in song in the middle of whatever we're doing. If somebody says something and it triggers that song, even if the words aren't right, we will make them up.
Exactly. I do it all the time. I used to work a job where, in my bio, I don't remember if it mentioned it, but I had 49 jobs in 36 years. And there was this one job where I worked with this woman. We were side by side and we were both the same way. So if somebody would walk in the office and they would say something and it was like a lyric in a song, we would both just look at each other and then we would just start singing randomly.
I love it.
It was like we shared a brain. It was kind of fun. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I love it. So cool. Is it better? Do you think it's better?
I'll know when she starts speaking. Yeah.
Say something,
Okay,
Laura.
I'm speaking now. Is that good?
Yay.
Yay.
Oh, good.
Rock on. Okay. So, Lynda, as mentioned in the bio, in 2015, you decided to, or it wasn't in the bio, what was in the bio was when you were 5 and you were gone an entire week. Oh, it did say that at age 51, you decided to face, well, now we know how old you are because that was in 2015.
Do the math.
Now we know. But so you decided to leave corporate, follow your dreams after 36 years and 49 jobs, like you mentioned, in corporate. Now, I have a really similar story.
Mm,
Not quite 30. Well, maybe it was 36 years. Anyway, I'll have to go look at that. But you jumped ship, right? Without a net. You're like, I'm going in. I'm not taking a life raft. I'm not taking, I don't have anything in the water waiting for me, basically, right? And you
yeah.
decided to face one fear every day for an entire year. And it helped you gain all of this crazy confidence. And now you're using that and now uses what you learned to fulfill your mission of empowering all these women and men to write their own stories.
Hmm.
Um, so let's talk about well, gosh, that's just so much fodder there. One of the first questions though I had was, what was the scariest fear that you broke through? If you're okay with starting there. If you feel like we need
Oh
to
yeah, I'll
start
start
somewhere
wherever.
else.
I'm all
Okay.
good. I have no fear in wherever we start.
I love it.
Well,
Segue.
first of all, it's funny. I was on a summit earlier today, and when they introduced me, she said, it's not an exorbitant amount of fear, Lynda. It's a delusional amount of fear." So I thought that was cool. It's like I'm going to have to change my bio where it says, she created a delusional amount of fear. And the thing is that fear stops us from doing so many things in our lives.
So
And
much.
the greatest fear on the planet is the same one that I had. And I'll share with you what that is in just a second. So when you ask the question, like what was the scariest fear? Like what was the craziest fear? What was the most transformational fear? It really isn't one specific thing that I did. It was one bucket of fear. So I had this huge bucket of fear that a lot of us have, the vast majority of us have. And the fears that I faced every single day, or most of them fit into that bucket. And
Okay.
so I'll just share with you briefly how it looked is every day I woke up. Well, first of all, it was January 1st of 2015. New Year's Day. I don't set New Year's resolutions because I break them every time. But I said, wow, I have so many fears. I'm going to break through a fear every day this year. It was completely random. It just came up when I woke up that day. And so I said, what I'm going to do is every day I'm just going to ask myself a question. What scares me? Before I get out of bed, that's the question I'm going to ask myself. And then the very first fear that pops into my head that morning is the fear I'm going to commit myself to breaking through that day. That was exactly what it looked like. So there was no list. I didn't have any idea what fears were going to come up. Every day was completely different based on whatever fear
Interesting.
came up. So as I started breaking through these fears, 3 months into it, I had this realization that there's that ridiculous saying out there, false evidence appearing
Getting
real.
real.
Fear, false evidence appearing real. And I was like, there is nothing false about my fears at all. Every single fear is as real can be to me.
To
And
you.
so,
Exactly.
yeah. And so I had this realization that, wow, okay, my fears are real. And then about 6 months into it, I started asking myself a different question. And that was, what's the common theme between this last 6 months? I've been facing fears for 6 months now, 180 fears. What's the common theme? Oh my God, I landed on it. It's the fear of judgment. The fear of judgment is what stops us from moving forward. It's not painful to be judged. We create the pain within ourselves that we're saying that this is why it's painful. And
Mhm.
so, like, there's a saying that more people are scared of speaking on stage than they are of dying. But the reality is, more people are scared of the judgment they'll receive on stage than they are of
Yes.
dying. Yeah.
That
And
makes
so,
sense.
yeah. And so it just really fueled me that, oh gosh, all I need to do is work on one fear. The fear was the fear of judgment, not the fear of going to Denny's by myself. Like that was one of them. Go to Denny's by myself, go to the movies by myself, go shopping by myself. I didn't like to be by myself. Another one was one of the fears that I remember. It was so specific. It said, talk to a stranger in the Starbucks. Like that was the fear that day. You know, I used to drive to networking events, because entrepreneurship, a lot of us attend a lot of networking events. I would drive to a networking event, park my car, get on Facebook, not go inside, and drive back home. I was so scared to talk to people. This was
Wow.
before breaking through those fears. So now I just none of this stuff bothers me anymore, because I no longer have that fear of judgment. My entire life has shifted.
That's
Mhm.
awesome.
That's
It
the short
reminds
answer, by the way.
me,
That's the short
yeah,
answer.
that is a short answer, but it reminds me, I was listening to Neil Patel and another gentleman who is also well known, but I just am blanking on his name. Put it in the notes, Laura, to look the episode up. But he was talking about how to get more speaking gigs. But they touched on that exact thing, that when he first started out speaking, and I don't think it was Neil, I think it was the other gentleman, that that everything shifted for him. He would be so nervous to go out there, so nervous. And but at some point he realized that what he was nervous about was the judgment, that he was going to be judged for not speaking, eloquently, or stumbling over his words, or pausing for too long. And he was really, what was making him nervous was other people's judgment. So
Mm-hmm.
he said, change your focus to what you're bringing to the audience, the service that you're bringing to them, the value that you're bringing to them, and take the focus off yourself. And he
Mhm.
goes, it completely, I've never been nervous again.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
yeah, and
Mhm.
that's what you were just talking about, that judgment. And I think you're just so right on about that. Like, everybody is afraid of being judged. And, you know, and it stops us from doing so much, so much.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I'd like
um,
to touch. I'm gonna expound on that just a little bit,
yeah,
because
yeah.
I do a lot of retrospection to see, like, where did this stem from, what caused this,
Hmm.
what was the incident in my life that created this way of feeling, or thinking, or whatever. And so one of the thing that I recognize is that I grew up in a very judgmental environment. A lot of us grow up in these judgmental environments, whether it's our family or our so-called friends, right? These people who say these bad things about us. And then what happens is we end up becoming our own worst enemies.
Yeah.
Because when we're
Mhm.
born as a child, the very moment that we're born, we don't judge ourselves. There is no judgment. The judgment is the judgment of others that's created within us. And then we adopt their beliefs as our own. So at what point in our lives, for me, it wasn't until I was 51 that I started to look at that and say, you know what, I need to adopt my own beliefs. What do I believe in? What
Yeah.
do I love? What do I hate? What do I like? I didn't know, because as a people pleaser, all I cared about was pleasing you. And so
Mhm.
your likes I adopted as my own. So I started
Hmm.
adopting other people's, right? And then I said, okay, wait a minute. Somebody started calling me Sunshine. One day, the Sunshine is not my given name. It's the name that was given to me. So somebody called me Sunshine. Somebody else called me Sunshine. It happened like 4 or 5 times in 6 weeks. And I said, there's something here that they see in me that I don't see in myself. So what am I
Yeah.
going to do? Instead of adopting the negativity that I had been doing for so many decades, I'm going to start adopting the positivity. So I started calling
Mhm.
myself Sunshine, because that's what they called me. When people would say I was smart and I was brave and I was kind and I was all these wonderful things, I would always have, like, no, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. But I said, wait a minute. There's something they see in me that I don't see in myself. I'm going to start adopting the positive things that people say about me and believe those to be my truths as well. And I got to tell you that when you start to look at that and you start to, again, I call them adopting, right? Because I adopted beliefs in the beginning. Now I'm
Yeah.
adopting new beliefs. And what happens is there's the reticular activator system in our brain that goes off when we start focusing on something or looking at for something. We start finding more of it. So what
Yep.
happened is, as I started searching for positivity, as I started searching for people who believed in me, I started finding more positivity and finding more people who believed in me. I was able to just rewire my brain just by intentionally searching for something else. And that was having awareness, which is, I have awareness. I have awareness now. I have awareness now, right now. I have awareness. I have awareness
Love
now.
it.
It's Time for me to move on, like Donkey Kong, my new song.
I love
I
it.
love
I had to
it.
throw that in there somewhere.
Absolutely.
I have found my spirit animal.
Absolutely.
It's a cheetah. It's a cheetah. It's a cheetah.
I think with some of the when you're looking at like the judgment part, we were taught like you don't talk, you're taught as a kid you don't talk to strangers. But my mother would be standing in stores and just randomly compliment people. And some of them took it, others didn't, but they would always smile back at her. And I'm like, why do you do that? And being taught that you never know what somebody's going through. You just brighten their day. Sometimes a compliment is just something to bring them out of whatever thought they're having. So if they were deep in thought or they just seemed troubled, she would say something to them. And I adopted that as my icebreaker, my ability to speak to people outside of my own little bubble that I knew really well and put myself out. And it doesn't ever go super far. You don't have to worry about a long, exaggerated conversation. But that little bit in the moment to break the ice when you're all kind of awkwardly standing around people, was the one way that I had ever learned to then just kind of come out of that fear of being around people, being in those awkward moments, or not quite sure what to say, the judgment, that kind of thing. And even to this day, some people will be like, she's strange, and others will be like, thank you so much. And you just take it for what it is. So to some of them, I'm weird. Yes, I'm a very big weirdo. And others, they really appreciated it, which was great to hear. um Them, that it brightens their day and they say thank you. But it's very interesting because that's those little things that you notice along the way. Like I would throw myself out there purposely and do that to ensure that somebody else was having a good day. Like it
Yeah.
wasn't for me, it was for them,
Yeah. Yeah.
kind of thing.
Exactly. Exactly. So, you talked about, jumping ship without a net, right? Um, and I want to make sure that we have plenty of time to talk about this because I think this is really important. Um, One, I don't want people to think that they shouldn't jump if they need to jump, right? Um, do I think it's good to have an exit strategy? Absolutely. But and I'm sure you'll touch on this. There's a place where having one outweighs the benefit of staying versus not. So let's talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly about jumping without a net.
Yeah, I'm one of those that I like to make pros and cons lists. Like if I'm in a
Mhm.
situation and I'm feeling like I want to make a movement, but I don't know if it's a smart way to go or if it's the right time or what have you, I'll just make 2 columns, good, bad, pros, cons, and then I list out the pros and the cons. Then I literally will look at it like, was one like way over weighing the other, and if so, then that's the movement I'll make. So I love to move into like a conscious state of mind. Again, awareness. Move into that awareness state of mind, because what happens is a lot of times we make decisions based on emotion. Vast majority of our decisions are based on emotion. But if we can move to logic, then we're making a logical decision, what's really, really best and right for us in that time. When I was married to my first husband, he used to tell me how stupid and ignorant I was on a
Mm.
daily basis. And I had 2 kids. They were we had 2 kids, 14 months and 4 weeks old. And I made a decision to leave him, to walk out on him. And I literally walked out because I didn't have a car. I mean, we had one car between us and he was with the car. And so I literally walked out, a purse, a diaper bag, 2 babies, and that was it. A lot of people would say, wow, that was so brave that you did that. But the reality that I was facing in that moment is I had 2 fears, the fear of staying and the fear of leaving.
Mhm.
So I looked at it and I said, is my fear of staying stronger than my fear of leaving? Or which one makes more sense for me in this time? And I was only 21 years old. I had these 2 little babies. I didn't really have anywhere to go. I had my parents' house to go to, but other than that, like I didn't know what I was doing. And so my decision to leave was because my fear of staying was stronger than my fear of leaving. So sometimes our fears will fuel us to do something that we're scared to do, because we know that the fear of staying is is stronger. So for me
Yeah.
in the corporate world, 49 jobs, 36 years, my fear of going to that 50th job was stronger than my fear of leaping out into the unknown, literally unknown. I wasn't an entrepreneur. I didn't live an entrepreneurial life. I didn't know what it was all about, but I started, kind of like reading some personal development, learning different things about myself, learning that I do have value, even though the corporate world made me believe that I didn't have any. That's what my belief was. And
Mhm.
so I started realizing all these things about myself and said, you know what, I'm going to do it. I'm going to leap out of the corporate world, which I was working for a judge in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals at that time. I'm going to leap out of there and see what happens. And I had met somebody who told me that they would make me a millionaire in a year, and I believed them. It hasn't happened yet. I'm still waiting for that. Hello. But but what's interesting is if they hadn't said that, would I have leaped out? I don't know. I'm so glad I did though, because even though I didn't have that net and I wasn't ready, some really crazy things happened. For example, my husband and I, I've been married now for 34 years, happily married. And when I left that corporate job, uh, we took out a second mortgage on our home. And I spent all that second mortgage money on these business ideas, these business ventures, trying to figure all this stuff out. And so after spending all that money, I said, you know what? We have to sell the home because I got to follow this dream and passion. Now, that home had been in my family since I was 2 years old,
Oh, wow.
but I didn't have a positive connection to the household because there was a lot of abuse that
Yeah.
happened in there. So we ended up selling our home. We sold 85% of our belongings. We bought a fifth wheel trailer. We literally lived in a trailer as park host in San Diego County so that we would have no rent. We did everything we could in order for me to follow this dream and this passion of being a successful entrepreneur. It took 7 years of not knowing what I was doing, trying to figure it out, got to the point that we almost became homeless. And I ended up going back to a job. So I went back to a job. I was on a job for a couple of years. And my husband and I made an agreement that when I double my salary 4 months in a row, or when I have this much money in the bank, then that's when I can leave my job. So I had my sight on what I had to do in order to be able to leave and become an entrepreneur again, like jump into it. And it's been an incredible journey, ups and downs, lots of them, twists, turns, so many failures that I can't even bear to count. It's way more failures than jobs. And every single step though has been part of the journey to get me to where I am today. And it's just this mental attitude of I've got something. I have something in me. I just haven't figured it out yet. And to keep moving forward. And I think that's the thing is we oftentimes will give up on ourselves because, oh, I'm not going to make it. But if you have this gut feeling, it was deep down in my gut, like I feel like I'm on the precipice. And I kept feeling like that for 7 years. And so some people look at it and say, wow, you should have stopped, a long time ago. You're not successful or what have you. I said, no, but I feel it. I feel it. And I'm going to keep going. Someday I'll land on it. So I finally landed on it a year and a half ago. And it's been like wildfire. It's been incredibly
Awesome.
fast. You just got to keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Because we say stuff about the time. We see people like 6 months, 3 months, you could do this. And it drives us crazy because those bright, shiny objects. And yay to those who have done it. I applaud you. But there is no time limit. I mean, statistics don't even tell you this is going to be an immediate thing. Um, and we heard from past guests what they've hit those marks, 6, 7 figures. And yet what they still bring home in the end is nowhere near what anybody's really considering and thinking about.
Yeah.
And so those time limits and that moment, that feeling when it's just like, I can't put a time on this. And my husband and I recently had the same conversation where I'm like, I don't know what the time on this is. Um, but we're gonna figure it out. We're gonna get through it. It's always worked itself out, and it always will. Um, but and what it is, what it's gonna look like, I don't have an idea. But like you, there's a feeling, there's a push somewhere. Like, and I know for myself personally, going back to corporate had me in tears for weeks. It traumatized, and part of the reason why my husband was like, "Okay, forget it," because it was it was awful. Like he'd never seen me cry. We've been together, 12 years at that point, 13 years at that point, and I'm copiously crying without being able to stop. And it's just like, what? And I was like, I can't go back to corporate. I can't do this. Like, we've got to find another way. And it was just crazy insane to feel that kind of trauma for all that to come surfacing that way. So I love the fact that you're saying, look, it's 7 years, who knows? And it's going to take this, or it's going to take that. But the idea that it's not a quick fix and it's not the bright, shiny object. And,
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a lot of
So
issues to deal with, a lot of them, especially the judgment thing was a huge piece, but like I had a lot of money issues. If you have money issues, it's hard to make money because it's hard to keep the money. So even if you make
yeah,
money, it's hard to keep it because you haven't dealt with it. Like, lottery winners, the vast majority of lottery winners become broke within 2 years, right? And that's because they don't have the money mindset. And so that's one of the things I've been very aware of for myself is that I needed to work on my money mindset this year or last year, 2022 is the first time since I've been in business since 2005, the end of 2014, that I hit six figures. Prior to that, the most money I ever made in any year was $33,000, 7 years in a row. I never paid myself in 7 years. Every bit of money went right back into the business. And I was just so stressed all the time. But then when I finally landed on the one thing that I
yeah,
do, and I do really, it's like, wow, I know what I'm doing. I love it. And I'm damn good at this. I landed on that. And that was the book publishing. And then this last year, it went from 33,000 to 160,000. So, I'm not scared to share how much money I make or how little money I make because what's the big deal? Like, why do we make such a big deal about it? This helps other
yes,
people to see that it's possible for them too. And to jump
right.
from 33 to 160, that's huge. But that really was all the work that I put in, a lot of mental
Thank you.
work.
Yes, thank you so much for saying that and mentioning the money thing because often money it's attached to our emotions.
Mhm.
Money is about our emotions and our emotional baggage. It's intertwined. It's all tangled up. But one of the other things, and I'm going to circle back to that because I think it is so powerful when you say, "I made $33,000 for so many years. Now I'm finally doing this," and because we aren't talking about that.
Mhm.
All they're talking about is, I can teach you how to make six figures. Because once you make six figures, you've arrived somehow. There's this, and I don't know if it's a patriarchal thing or what, that, men have, that's been their sole purpose in life is to, to support their family. And so monetarily, how much they make is a big deal. It's a completely connected to their self-worth and their self-value. And so as women, as we've been entering the workspace, we've decided, oh, we're going to do that too. We're going to equate our value to how much money we make. No, we don't have to do that. That's a model that we don't have to follow. But one of the things that you talked about was the failures, right? And it reminded me of Thomas Edison. Everybody knows Thomas Edison. And his teachers told him that he was too stupid to learn anything. Now, he didn't agree, thankfully. He knew that each experiment that he conducted led to the next and the next, and it would all end up in this discovery that he was searching for. In his mind, there were no failures. He needed each step to reach his ultimate success. He needed each failure to lead him to that. And someone pointed out to him that he had failed 10,000 times in developing the battery, right? And he responded that he hadn't failed. He just found 10,000 ways that it didn't work because his belief was that he failed his way to success.
Yeah, I love
So
that.
even though, and he was deaf, he had deafness, which would have stopped many people, right? But it didn't even seem to phase him because he knew what he was looking for. He's like, I know this is going to work. I have this idea. This is, this passion, this goal, this mission. And by the world's standards, he was capable of little. Yet he found his own methods. He's self-educated. He innovated, and he patented eventually over 1,000 inventions. And but he didn't get there by you know taking this course or following these steps to six figures. He failed. And failures, like he said, is just feedback. And it's easy, much I think for humans, it's just easier for us to identify what doesn't work, what isn't good for us, what we don't like, than it is to go, oh, I like that. Well, how do you know? Have you tried it? Have you compared it to something else? And so I want to circle back to all those years where, like, the second mortgage, holy cow, right? And the
Talk about facing
experience that
fears.
you, I'm sorry?
I said talk about facing fears. Like you were
Right.
right. That would have terrified me. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Angelique.
That's okay. The experience you gained during that period, did did it weigh into your eventual success?
Oh, big time. Every experience has weighed into, the eventual success. Like I'm at that level, right? It's just everybody has, like we have these up levelings for ourselves. Sometimes the level is a small step forward. And sometimes moving backward is a step forward. Sometimes moving backward is a huge step forward, because sometimes we're so focused on one thing that we think that that's the result we want to get. But really where I need to be focusing is over here. But how am I going to get there? So sometimes I need to take those steps backwards. But yeah, definitely. One of the first things I did is I hosted an event called, in 2015, called Lemon Zest and Garlic Fest. And an awesome name. People, every time I mention it, they're like, oh my God, that sounds amazing. And I'm in San Diego, California. And in July, this event was held in July. July is the hottest month we have. We never get rain in July. If it happens to rain, it's like a small sprinkle. Well, that day of my event, we were forecasted to get a deluge of rain. We don't even get that in December, like in the winter months. And so I just ignored it. And boy, what a mistake that was, because we got a deluge of rain. We got more rain than San Diego has ever received in its recorded history of 100 and something years. But
Oh my
at the end of
gosh.
that day, when I looked at that one, I did the numbers and I ran it. I lost $70,000 from that one event. And then I looked at that and I said, next event, I'm going to do this. Next event, I'm not going to do this. And I looked at it as a lesson, like, what can I learn from this? What are all the different things I learned? So at the next event, I only lost $10,000. And I like to say that it was like a
That's
700%
huge.
increase.
Exactly.
Huge difference, right? Exactly. It's all in how we look at things. How do we look at the experiences? What are we looking at? Like the words of failures, like, yes, I failed many, many, many times, but it's the lessons that I learned through the failures. And also that I am not a failure because I failed. I'm actually a winner because I failed, because I actually did the things. I stepped out on the limb and I said, I'm going to try this. I'm going to try that. Now, here's the thing is that we can have mentors and coaches that can help us along that path, along that journey to get where we're going to go. But then that even goes deeper. Let's go deeper on that. Find mentors and coaches who are successfully doing the thing you want to do. So finding a mentor or coach is awesome, but if they're not successfully doing the thing you want to do, they might take you down the wrong path. So
Yes.
it's aligning with those people who you're like, wow, that person's doing exactly what I want to do. I'm going to reach out to them and find out how they can help me be successful. And let's shorten the time in which we get to that success. There's so many things I learned through, especially through that year of fears. And really, I think the bottom line of this whole thing, like if I can encapsulate this into one thing, two things, I'll encapsulate into two things. One is that, find for yourself where your fear of judgment comes from and tackle that head on and realize that you have value, you have importance. And there are people out there who are waiting for you to discover that for yourself, because they see it in you, but you don't see it in yourself. So one of the sayings I came up with is to see yourself through the eyes of others, for others see the real you. Now, this is only positive people. We don't talk about this with negative people. And the second thing I would share is that I created my own acronym for fear. And that is that faith erases anxious reactions. Fear is nothing more than some sort of anxiety that's going on inside of us. But if we can tap into our faith, then we can help to eliminate and or maybe just lessen those fears a little bit so that we can go do it. So when I tap into faith, there's 3 areas of faith I tap into. The first area is faith in myself that I can do this. Okay, I can do this. The next is if I don't have enough faith in myself, then I tap into the faith of my surroundings, of my mentors, my coaches. I have lots of them. I reach out to them and I grab their faith of me and I adopt that. And then my next one is to faith in God, to tap into God and say that, you know what, I need your help. I need your strength. I need the courage to move forward and do this. And so what this says to us is lets us know that, see, when our faith is strong, our fear is weak. So if we're experiencing
Yes.
fear, this means our faith is weak and we must tap into it. Faith erases anxious reactions. Go forward and live the life you're wanting to live. If you're not happy, it's your own fault. It is your own fault. You got to make a decision to change that life and step out on faith that things will be different. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow,
Mhm.
maybe in 7 years, but they
Yeah.
will be different.
Yeah.
I love that.
And I'm really glad you brought up the coaches and mentors thing because uh, we were talking recently to a future guest and who will remain unnamed because I like the mystery. But we were asking her, she also stressed how important the mentorship is. And so one of the questions that I like to ask is what what's your advice for someone who is looking for a mentor?
Yeah, I think that number one thing again is to look at people who are successful doing what you're doing and then confirm that they're successful because there are a lot of smoke and mirrors out
Ooh,
there. There's a lot of smoke and mirrors, right?
that's
I
good.
can tell you I'm successful all I want. But what about the people who are following with me? So right now, as of today, we have published 14 number one international best-selling books. So if you want to publish books, that I might be a good person for you to reach out to. How did you become number one international bestseller? If you want that, maybe I'm somebody to reach out to. I'm a 22 times number one international best-selling author myself. How did I do that? How did I move into that space? So you can actually exhibit by seeing what I'm doing to see that I'm having success there. But if I'm saying I'm this and that and this, and there's no evidence out there, you might want to look at that person just a little bit further to see if they really are what they're saying that they are. So really look beyond the smoke and mirrors because sometimes our emotions take over. They do a lot, right? And so as far as the emotions taking over, we might say, oh, I really like this person. They're amazing. I love their message. I love who they are. I
Yeah.
love who they show up as. But if they're not successful, they're not a good mentor. Go and connect with
Mhm.
them as a friend, but not as a mentor. So that's my
Yeah.
first piece of advice. And then ask. Here's the thing is if we don't ask, we've already answered for them. If
Yeah.
we don't ask, we've already answered no. So like there's that book, Go for the No. I can't remember who wrote that book, but going for the no, I don't say that. I say like, look at the people that you really want to align with, connect with them, provide some value for them. And then a lot of times they will, ask if you'd like to get mentored, which is actually just happened recently. I asked this woman, would you like some mentorship? I see that you need some help. Would you like some mentorship? Are you open for that? And she
Yeah.
said, yes. So I've been mentoring her and it's been awesome
Nice.
because when she first came at me, it was like literally like attacking me. And I turned her attack into a much softer approach for her to be able to connect with people. But find those people who want to mentor. And then the last piece of advice here, my own mentor mentioned this just the other day. I had the opportunity to speak on his stage that I've been wanting to speak on for 8 years. I finally spoke on it last week. And he said, there are a lot of people out there who want mentorship, but they're not willing to do the work. As a
Mhm.
mentor,
Oh,
I
yeah.
appreciate someone like you who, when I give you something to do, you actually do it. So if you're
Mhm.
getting mentorship, make sure you're ready to do the work. Go out and do the work and make it happen. Make your mentor proud, but most importantly, make yourself proud of yourself.
Nice.
Absolutely.
All right. So are you going to tell us whose stage you were on?
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, of course. I didn't even think. Yes. Yeah. So the event is called Secret Knock. It's an absolutely incredible event. It's been hosted for, I think, 16 years now. My mentor, his name is Dr. Greg Reed. And he is,
Love Greg.
yeah, he's an incredible man. And, he's so humble, and he does what he can to help you succeed as long as you're willing to do the work. And so it was 8 years ago, I attended my very first Secret Knock. It was March of 2015. So I had only gone through about 75 days of breaking through fears at that time. When I attended that event the very first time, I literally stood back in a corner on a break, and I was on my phone, and my life coach was there at the time with me. She would filter people over to me and say, Lynda, here's somebody you need to meet. Lynda, here's somebody you need to meet, because I was so scared to be there, because I was intimidated. I didn't have any confidence in myself, in who I am, and all that stuff. And so she kept feeding people to me. And then I was so glad I attended, and I decided to attend again and again. Then I said, I wonder what it would be like to volunteer. So what am I doing? I'm moving from a place of attending to a place of, I'd like to be of service to this organization. So I moved into this space of service, and I started volunteering, and I did that for a couple times. And then after that, Greg's, his assistant ended up moving. So he reached out to me and he said, hey, her name was Kat. Kat is moving. Do you want to become the organizer of Secret Knock? And I was like, heck yeah. This is
What?
I know, it's a Forbes #1 rated, Inc. magazine rated, Entrepreneur magazine #1 rated event for entrepreneurs to attend. And he asked me if I wanted to move into that space. So I was like, of course I do. I mean, what an incredible opportunity. And guess what? I didn't get paid a dime. I didn't get paid a dime. I was serving. And if some people are like, wow, you did all that work. Like, I worked my ass off. But you know how I got paid? And way much better, way more important than money, because how I got paid was through knowing that I was serving such a great organization and the connections I made. He became my mentor throughout this process. But I remember one day, I'll share this one story. One day while I was organizing the event, I was organizing the speakers, the venue. I did everything. I was literally working like 40 and 50 hours a week, not making a dime. Okay. This is why I only made 33,000, the most in 1 year, because I give a lot. And so one day I was doing a Facebook Live, and I don't remember what the topic was, but this incoming call comes in, and I looked at the screen. I'm like, I got to go, everybody. Les Brown is calling me. So
Thank you.
Les Brown called me, and here's what he said. The reason I share this story is not because it's Les Brown, but it's because of what happened. So he calls me and he says, Lynda, this is what he called for. I just wanted to call to let you know that you're an incredible servant leader. When I'm in town, you make sure that you spend time with me, because I'm going to teach you how to leverage my name. And I made that happen. I mean, I showed up. He taught me how to leverage his name. He taught me not only how to leverage his name, but how to leverage anybody's name.
Yeah.
I learned so much, but it was because I was a servant leader.
Yeah.
And he saw it.
He saw
and
that. Yeah.
recognized it.
And he didn't have to reach out to me, but he did.
No. Mm-hmm.
And that man made me feel so extremely special. So I learned that too, is that when we show up, like you were mentioning, Laura, right? It's just saying, how you look very nice today, or your outfit looks nice, or what a beautiful smile. Sometimes that's all it takes for somebody to feel extra special. And Les Brown made me feel extra special. Like, I'm getting emotional just remembering that moment, because it was so instrumental in a lot of the things I'm doing today.
Yeah. And I love that story. I know I've heard you tell that story at least once. And I met Gregory through one of your Women Action Taker events. He presented, and I then subsequently searched out his book and read his book and started following him in social media. And I love when men get behind women like that and support them.
Yeah.
I just posted something on social media about, I don't want men to, I can't remember what it was, but in effect, I want them to bail on this patriarchy and get on the wagon of just being a good human being.
Yeah.
And not following the pressures that they've been raised with. Because honestly, I don't feel like, patriarchy is not a great thing for women. No, but the men haven't got the best end of the stick either,
Yeah.
So I know we could talk for days, and I would love to do that.
That's for
But
sure.
I do want to wrap this up. So let's see, what is next on the agenda?
You have freebies for everyone, Lynda.
What are my
Yes.
freebies? I can never remember what I'm giving away.
So it is the do it, delegate it, or dump it.
Oh,
Is exactly what you need to get out of your head and move forward. So turn your overwhelm into money in the bank. And the link is for a free download of the do it, delegate it, or dump it. Is it oh God, there goes my brain.
PDF download?
Like an ebook PDF down. Yeah, there we go.
yes. Yes. And it's actually like a worksheet kind of, to help you to walk through that monkey brain of, oh, I'm stuck in overwhelm and stuff. And also for you, Laura, it's actually helpful for people who want to work with you, because going through that process of the dumping it, that's the aspect of like, who should I hire to do the work for me? So it actually is great for, people who are on the, like, they're not really sure of what they should be doing and shouldn't be doing. And then they figure out what they shouldn't be doing and then delegate that out to people who can help them to do it.
That's
Love
awesome.
it.
We just
Yeah.
talked about that recently. I do that with
Yeah.
clients when they come to me and they're just all this overwhelm. I'm like, all right, you got to do a dump. You need to do a
Yeah.
dump. And I send them a worksheet. So
Yeah.
awesome. And so
Beautiful.
one of the things we like to do is have our current guest introduce our next guest. And our next guest is Nicole Magic. And I know we had a little confusion about who the next guest was. It is Nicole Magic. So, and
Okay,
I
I got it.
love that name. So it's the last three little things I sent to you, Lynda. So
Okay, I got it. I found it. Okay,
awesome.
cool. I'm ready to rock and roll. Well, first of all, I want to thank you so much for having me on the podcast. This is awesome. I love any opportunities that I get to share the message of, just getting out there and, living your life the way you truly want to live it. If you don't know what that is, figure it out and then do it, because you only
Yes.
get one chance at this, only one chance. So go out there and live your life, and don't let fear stop you from living that life. So the next guest is Nicole Magic. She's an accomplished leadership and empowerment strategist and educator, and she has created a highly effective, life-transforming empowerment program, The Alchemy of Transformation. She awakens your true potential by erasing limiting beliefs and showing you how to live a life you desire without compromising who you are or what you love. She has appeared on various radio shows, local TV, as a keynote speaker for international conferences, using the strategic formulas of her empowerment program, The Alchemy of Transformation, along with CBT and NLP techniques, all the alphabets. She's got all the alphabets going on there. She helps you to permanently erase self-sabotaging beliefs and transform your obstacles into the opportunities to achieve the success you desire.
Awesome. Thank you, Lynda.
Thank you.
So I know NLP, I know that stands for neuro linguistic programming. I don't know what CBT is, but I'm sure
Me
it's
neither.
like somewhere in there similar
Yeah.
to that. So,
Clearly,
she's-
it's I got it. It's clearly badass transformation, of course.
oh,
Oh, yeah, we'll have to tell her that. That is perfect too. And she's an amazing woman. So definitely tuning in next week. And I've gotten to know her over the last about 8 months. And what she does is just truly fantastic. So, as we move into these mindsets, you talk about money mindset, and you talk about the way things are. She's very much into that and that limitless belief. And so again, the universe just keeps lining up our guests in
Yeah.
magical
Yes.
ways. So,
yeah. We don't schedule them, they self-schedule. So this is pretty awesome.
Awesome.
Our ask this week or announcement or whatever, it's the same as last week. One of these days we'll change it, but subscribe to the YouTube channel if you've already subscribed. Please, please, please share, invite someone, share one of the episodes with someone, so that we can build our audience and reach as many fempreneurs out there as we possibly can. Thank you for being with us today. Thank you again, Lynda, for being
Thank
an
you.
awesome guest. And we will see you
Thank you,
guys next
Lynda.
time.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.